Welcome to PureEsperanza's In the Art of Living series. If you're not familiar with PureEsperanza, we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing forth consciousness while educating body, mind, and soul in the art of well-being. Now, tonight is a really special evening for us because this event is unlike our other events. Usually we have webinars and specific topics on body, mind, and soul, but we also realize that just pure inspiration from art often moves and shifts us in ways that really are inspiring for our soul and nourish our soul as well. So tonight we have a purely soulful experience for you. Hello, everyone. Again, thank you so much, Pam. That was just beautiful. So before we get into a little bit of sharing, and I want to hear from Pam and have her share with you what her inspiration was, some things that were interesting to me. Maybe you have some questions as well. But I'd like for us all to take a moment to absorb what we just experienced right now. You know, a lot of times we're busy in this day and age that we live in, and in the kind of lifestyles that we live, where we don't really get to spend a lot of time being very still. In fact, for some of you, it may have felt like it was a very long time just to sit and watch. We're very accustomed to doing, we've been accustomed to doing for a long time, for centuries now. Whereas in some ancient civilizations and cultures, it was more about just being able to sit and be still. So in this moment, I'll be asking you if you could just sit for a few moments, and perhaps, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes and just think about maybe what stood out for you, the kinds of colors that spoke to you. And by that, I mean how it felt. Maybe a sound and a color combined had an experience for you. Maybe it brought a thought into your mind. And so just sit with that for a few moments. And then we'll check back in about 3 seconds. And just breathe into that. Maybe the image comes back again. Now, again, just to be able to get the most out of this kind of virtual experience, since we're not all in a room together having this experience, perhaps if you're open to sharing what your experience was, a few thoughts, ideas, maybe colors or images that stood out for you, you can put them into the chat box. And I noticed here that some people have already been writing beautiful. My cats love the music. Mine did too. Mine was actually like listening to the sounds, the nature sounds, and was curious about that. So as you can see here in the group chat, Pam, obviously everybody, you know, enjoyed the beautiful colors and just the talent. Great, exquisite sensory experience. I agree. So that's beautiful. And so now more about, you know, if it elicited, if it evoked something from your own sense of being. And that's a little bit of what we'll be talking about right now when we talk to Pam a little bit about that collection. But if you would just write there, maybe even a color and a feeling, something that really stood out for you besides just the part where it's like, wow, beautiful colors and it was beautiful art, but maybe somehow a little bit more deeper about how it moved you, because as you'll be hearing in a little bit, we can use these kinds of experiences to find our stillness, to come into stillness, and that way we're experiencing this nourishment that we were mentioning at the top of the hour, which was about nourishing your soul. Every time we're inspired, we are nourished in our soul, and that's a nourishment that our being needs, just like we need to nourish ourselves with good food, or we need to nourish ourselves with good fresh oxygen, or just those kinds of things that help us to feel our well-being. So if you would just like to share there. I noticed the warm colors here. I'm just reading from the chat. Beauty and serenity, peaceful caring. I just want to share one piece with me. For me, was for me when the bird was rising, it almost had an Egyptian feel to it that was coming straight up from a very gold background, and it felt very powerful to me, like a rising, surging up. But there were so many other pieces. I loved the journey that we were on, because we went through pieces that felt more vibrant and exciting, and other pieces that felt more still and quiet. So those are the kinds of things that we want to be aware of. And now, Pam, as we now have shared a little bit about that. I noticed some more coming in. Thank you so much. Felt as if I had melted into the art and felt the music was going through me. How beautiful. That's so great. I felt that too at many points, just that experience. So I'm sure a lot of us are resonating here with different types of experiences. Thank you, Dawn, for that. And Yvonne, calming. I'm glad if it makes you feel good, right? I mean, hey, every one of us can use any bit of that at any point in time, you know, especially with the year that we've had. So we felt this was the ideal gift for you today as we start to wind into the very end of this year and put 2020 as something that we've all lived through, and how we take all those good pieces of it, of whatever these kinds of experiences that nourish our soul are, and how we bring them forth into the new year. So along with those lines, Pam, I would just like to thank you again so much for this gift. It's really a gift, as every artist, you know, it's just such a gift. And I really value that. It's so precious to us. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing it here with Pure Esperanza. I feel just such an honor that you allowed our organization, tying in with our mission as far as really being able to educate body, mind, and soul. And we have that education come through us in so many different ways. Just these kinds of soulful experiences is an education. So I'd like to ask you, you know, I have a little bit of knowing, but not all of it, in terms of like what inspired this whole collection, the Fight or Flight series. And you know, what were some of the processes that you were just going through as you were doing it?
Okay, well, you know, it's named Fight or Flight because you have that choice every single day. You know, you can choose to, you know, focus on what's going wrong in your life and be miserable, or you can choose to put yourself in a more positive mindset and, you know, take your mind someplace else that's more calming and spiritual and, you know, positive. I started this series because I had a friend, a very dear friend, that was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And we would take him to Northwestern in Chicago every couple of weeks for chemo. And I would just see how much he was suffering, you know, and I was about to start an art series anyway, a new series. And I thought, you know, I want to do something with my art that actually helps people. It's not just a pretty picture, you know, I want to help you. So I did the first painting. It was called Butterfly Euphoria. And I brought it to him, and he's just said, wow, that it just made me feel so calm and so much better, and gave me something positive to focus on instead of how terrible I felt, you know. I thought, okay, I'm on the right track. So that's how the series started. And then it just kind of kept growing. You know, I would go out in my garage. I have this big pegboard that I work on out there, and I would just turn on whatever music that I felt like listening to that day. Usually something like Santana would really get me going, you know, something with a lot of energy to it. And I would paint the backgrounds and just whatever, you know, I'm not really thinking about anything, just what do I feel like and what color should I put now? I just did it, you know, and so the backgrounds the only thing I tried to stay consistent with was there are motion swoops that take you up and out away from your life struggles. And then when the creatures get put in, the creatures also take you up and out away from your life struggles, but then back into your inner soul so that you can heal yourself from the inside out. I really feel like you can do that, you know? Anyway, that's basically what got me started on the series. And, you know, I just want people to know that, you know, or want you to, when you view my work, I want you to feel, you know, calm and positive, and that there is hope. And even if you're someone that, you know that you're going to pass away soon, you know, all the creatures and everything goes to the light. The light's at the top of the paintings, and they're always going towards the light. And I feel like when we die, we're all going to go towards the light. And so that pretty much sums up what the series is about.
You know, thank you. And I think about like when you say that, that we, in every moment, that whole concept of fight or flight, they're like little mini deaths. You know, when we're fighting, it's part of that death. And then when we, you know, find the way to see ourselves through that and look to find what is positive, something that we can actually work with constructively, and we shift our energy that way, that's like the spark, the life, the rebirth, you know, the moving towards that, moving towards the light. So if you could share with us, because it was really interesting in lots of the different paintings, you mentioned those upward sweeps, because I could feel that. And sometimes the music also had that feeling to it too, where it felt like an upward sweep. But I noticed, you know, a couple of different symbols in there, and I know you and I have talked a little bit about it, but I'm really curious as to, you could share with us maybe about the spiral, but also the hand that was on there. Yeah, so.
You know, I put the handprint on the first one as just kind of a primal thing, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
it's sort of like, well, if I put my handprint on there, you know, they'll never be able to say anybody else did this painting. You know, it's got my fingerprints on there. And, you know, it's the kind of thing like you think about Native Americans, you know, they put the handprint on the hind end of the horse, you know.
Yes, yeah.
So it was just kind of a way of, I guess, marking my work. And then once I put it on the first one, I thought, well, you know, it's a series, so I just need to do this consistently on all the rest of them, you know. So when you do a series, you know, like if you're selling through a gallery, they want everything to be consistent, you know, consistent style and a consistent kind of images and everything so that it is saleable. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to keep those things in mind to keep true to the series.
Yeah. What about those symbols that you had mentioned about the spiral? You had mentioned a couple of those things. I know when we were talking just about the series and some things that people could kind of stay tuned into as they reflected on the pieces, maybe the significance of them.
Well, you know, the spiral means eternity. And I did live out in New Mexico for about 8 years. And I did a whole other series called The Living Rock. And it was based on ancient runes that probably the Anasazi built. And, you know, on those runes, there were usually not hieroglyphics, petroglyphs. And there's another name for that too. But that spiral symbol, you see it everywhere out there, you know. And even in other places in the world where they've discovered those, you know, like not really cave paintings, but paintings, like they just discovered one, and I forget where it was in the world, but it was like a whole mile long of this big, long expanse of rock, and really quite high up. All of these markings were on the rocks, and there were spirals on there too. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's really universal through the whole world that's, you know, ancient.
Yeah. Spirals, I have a real affinity for them. In fact, it is an inspiration for our logo as well. And that really reflective of kind of the soul journey inward and then outward as we experience and express it here in this life and, you know, this form that we're in. I think about crop circles and spirals that have been found in crop circles. And, you know, we see it in so, like you said, in so many cultures, ancient ones often having the spirals, and certainly a lot of the Native American Indian traditions. Are there any other things that really symbol-wise that stood out for you when you were doing the paintings?
You know, I wasn't really focused on symbols so much. I mean, I would just try to get the basic feel, you know, like when I would start a painting, like for instance, say the fireflies one, you know, that's green and very, you know, tranquil greenish colors, you know, like you're in the middle of a jungle or something like that. And so once I get that basic color on there and start working with it, it just kind of sets the mood of the painting, and it just kind of becomes what it wants to be, you know?
Yeah. I love that. And I think that that is a beautiful way we can all think about inspiration, because it's not something that really comes from up here. I mean, you described it several times tonight when you were just describing your process, and you were just talking about how you would flow with how it felt at that moment. And then from there, it just expanded out. Like, it's kind of like these these chain reaction links that one after the other, like it moves this way, and then that guides you to the next step. And then you go to the next one from there. And it just keeps building off of each other. And I love that, because that's, I believe, truly the way inspiration is. It's not something that we can really like strategize in the intellect. It's something that happens to us from our own allowing just to be open to that moment. Like all of you here tonight, all of you may have had different experiences. I don't know how many of you were actually really able to unwind, but if you were able to get to that state, know that through this experience and other experiences, you can get to that state. And that was one of the things that I think when I first talked with you, Pam, about this whole event, was the idea, the intention that you had also, that each of these pieces could be used as a meditative type of practice or reflection that people could also utilize the paintings for. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, and well, I wanted to say two things while you were talking. It made me think of, as I'm painting and I'm painting with music, I'm just doing, movements with the paint to the canvas with what I'm hearing, that rhythm, if it's something fast, I'm painting fast little things on there. If it's something slow, I'm painting slowly, and, I'm just going with the flow of the music. What was the other thing that occurred to me? I already forgot. But yeah, it's a very all-encompassing feeling when I'm painting. I just kind of lose track of time. It's just so much fun, I wanted to say the creatures, as far as symbolism, the creatures all have some connotation to being positive, or like, for example, or some connection to, the afterlife. Like, I can't remember if it's Greeks or Romans, but they believed that when they died in battle, they would go to heaven as a dragonfly. So I use dragonflies, bluebirds, that whole thing of, going over the rainbow, there's a lot of symbolism in the creatures themselves. And I really do a lot of research to figure out, is this creature something that is connected with what I'm trying to get across, like something positive, something about, what happens when you die, where do you go, interestingly with the fireflies too, there's a cool story about every year in Japan, they release like thousands of caged fireflies over the Uji River at night, and it's to reenact a battle. And so, I think that would just be the coolest thing to go and see, So in essence, all of these fireflies are, going back up to heaven, But there's so many little stories. And if you go to my website and you click on Fight or Flight at the top menu, to see that series, you'll also see a place where you can get a PDF that tells you more about the symbolism in the creatures.
Excellent. Along those lines, I think about a lot of the Native American Indian traditions. They really use a lot of animal symbology and significance for that. Perhaps some of you on this event tonight have become familiar with some of that, but that holds true to me, a lot of those meanings too, and significance for some of the different creatures that you use. I love the butterflies. For me, that has long time been standing, the idea of transformation, and I always believe that that's true for just the human experience, that we're always transforming, and there's just this eternal kind of cycle of being in the chrysalis and then emerging from the chrysalis and being born again. And all of us who have lived a bit of time here on the earth know that, we can look back at our life and see those kinds of cycles and seasons of our own life, and kind of like, all this life compacted, like you've lived many lives within a life, so it's just beautiful to be able to see that and feel that emergence also, like of the butterfly coming forth and the flight of the butterfly in a lot of those paintings that you had. I also just was really in awe of how you were able to capture so much of that detail of each of the insects, where it actually felt fuzzy, like on some of their little areas that where they felt like they were a little bit furrier or something like that in some of those different creatures. And so just to see that and to see how you captured that, where it really created a multi-dimensional sense of the painting. That was the experience. Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Appreciate that. Well, you know, the monarch butterflies, I have several different monarch paintings, and I have a piece called Angelitos. And as you may know, or other people may know, down in Mexico, actually right about at the time of the Day of the Dead, the monarchs that are migrating arrive in a mountain range, a specific mountain range where they hibernate for a while. And they arrive like right about that time. And, you know, the people that live there believe that that's the spirits of the people that have died they're coming back to them, you know, so they'll go to the graveyard, they'll decorate the graves for this specific day, you know, when the monarchs come. And so Angelitos means, you know, like the little ones that were lost.
Yeah, it's angelitos, pronounced in Spanish.
Angelitos.
And
Oh,
angelitos is actually angels. It's like little angels.
yeah.
So it's just another way of seeing it. Yeah. And the Dia de los Muertos celebration is actually 3 days. So it's, you know, in other types of spiritual practices or religions, they look at that as the All Souls Days and All Saints Days. But it's interesting how they correlate with one another and they correspond and connect around those exact same times also, as well as the start of like all the different light festivals that start to happen at that time too, and what we're even in right now. So that's amazing. I'd like to open it up to have any other questions answered. Perhaps some of the participants here have different questions or things that they specifically want to ask you. If you would like to put it in the chat box now, or let us know by putting on your video camera and saying, I'd like to talk, I'm sure that Pam would be open to answering those for you. So here's one. Yeah, did you read that, Pam? Do you experience?
Yes.
Do you experience your paintings differently seeing them on canvas with reflected light versus on a monitor where the images have inherent luminescence? Luminance.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I kind of live with my paintings, and so I see them all the time. I have a painting behind me here. This is going to be the next series. But I guess, you know, I have to say it was really fun to work on this putting together this little iMovie with music, you know. And I should give a shout out to my friends, DEBRA SAWYER and MITCH Gregory. Most of the music came from just iMovie, you know, options that they gave me, but I still needed a few clips. And so they were great to give me some clips to use for this. Yeah. So when you heard the harp, that was DEBRA SAWYER, and then they kind of together composed some of the other ones. So yeah.
The harp is such an amazing instrument. I mean, it really like I feel like it really gets into the core of our being, like our heart space, you know. It moves us because the harp can be played in so many different ways and it creates so many different moods, you know. I mean, all music is like that, but for some reason that particular instrument and I think the vibration, like the frequency of the strings and the sound that they produce are more, maybe just a little bit stronger, that we feel that, you know, more pronounced. I noticed here also that Susan had wrote, creating art releases tension for me. Absolutely. I'm sure, Pam, you can speak to that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's kind of like I have to do it, you know. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have that to turn to. I guess I would do music, but, you know, they kind of go hand in hand. And I have to say, I always listen to music when I'm painting. I just, you know, when I taught art in high school, I was fortunate to teach a semester of art at Berrien Springs High School. And, you know, they're not supposed to have their phones on, you know, in class. But I just told them, go ahead, you know, listen to music because you're going to do better work, you know, if you're listening to something that you like. And funny, and it's a funny thing because they just really enjoyed that, and you know, the principals didn't give me a hard time about it or anything because it's art class, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah.
excellent, yeah. Does anybody have, oh, here's another question. I'm sorry, because they were coming in kind of quick. Are these watercolors or oils?
They're acrylic. They're all acrylic. Acrylic is basically a plastic paint, you know, because it has a like a plastic binder to it. And you know, it's an odd thing because like an oil painting will sell for more money because people think it will last longer. But that's only because people have been painting with oils for centuries, you know. And I mean, acrylics have only been around since I want to say like the 1920s or 30s or something like that. You know, it hasn't been that long. And so we really don't know how long they'll last, but how long does plastic last? Nothing lasts longer than plastic. So, you know, I figure that acrylics are my choice. You know, I think the paintings will last for a long, long time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we could, you know, find a lot more questions to ask and maybe even reach out if they wanted to speak with you or learn more about your paintings or where they even get some of the work that you have, Pam. And if you would put in the chat box so that people can see the website that you're at. Also, while you're doing that, I'll just let people know that if you're going to our website, PureEsperanza.org, on the top menu, you'll find a tab that has the community. And if you scroll down, there are so many different individuals that are on there. Pam is in the community, so you'll find her there. You'll also find 3 links on there that you can connect with her for different places you can visit her work and other things that she does. Many of you had already mentioned tonight the way it made you feel, and that it made you feel good, and it really helps to have a focal point for our well-being when we're looking at art. But more than looking at it or hearing music, it's the experience that we actually feel. And so that piece is really that therapeutic component. We call it healing. As a Waldorf educator for many years, the basis that a lot of people fell in love with Waldorf education wasn't the aesthetic quality, that there was a lot of arts steeped within the curriculum. It was really about a soul development that was accompanying the intellectual capacities and the development as a human being. So these are pieces that they're not finite. We don't get to someplace and then it's all done. We keep experiencing this development within ourselves, and we keep taking it to deeper, richer levels. The more we live life, the more we experience. And these are the kind of opportunities we wish to bring you with PureEsperanza, and really meeting people at whatever level they are at, whatever part of their journey they're focused on for their well-being. We want to be able to address that. So go there to PureEsperanza.org. You can find Pam and many other people, educators, artists, practitioners, healers that are on that page with wonderful services, a lot of beautiful, beautiful souls out there doing beautiful work for our world. And those are the kinds of things that inspire us, knowing that we have a beautiful, bright future ahead of us and for the generations to come when we share in this way. And so with that being said, Pam has put her information into the chat box. We encourage you to look for her work and support her in her journey and what she's doing out there to make this a beautiful, bright world that we can all just be finding ourselves in it over and over again and feeling those connections. So with that, we ask you to look for us at pureesperanza.org and see all the wonderful things coming up this year. We have more events as well as different kinds of webinars, seminars, and different topics on well-being in a number of capacities. So meeting body, mind, and soul. And you can also look for our blog there with a lot of guest writers that come on there. We're so thankful for their artistry in the spoken word, in the written word, and all the other types of things you can find on the calendar of events. And with just our shop, which we'll be building in the new year. And look for us on social media. Day in and day out, there's daily inspiration on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's a lot of videos there for you too, and other webinars that we've done. So with that, we thank you so much. We truly wish for you a very safe and happy holiday season. Stay safe, be well. Pam, any last words you'd like to share with everyone?
Yes, yes. I just want to say thank you so much for attending this, and also for all the nice comments. I really appreciate that. I'm about to do another one of these. It might take me a year or so to do it with a new series. So I'm sure I'll be contacting Esperanza to
Come on back.
with
Come
you.
on back, Pam. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you
And
so much.
thank you so much, Esperanza. I really appreciate you letting me do this on your channel.
Yeah, thank you. I am just so thankful. The connections are just amazing, and that's what's making Pure Esperanza grow exponentially and be as powerful as it is, because we're really here to connect with all of you. Thank you so much. From my heart to yours, from our home to your home, blessings. Be well, everyone.